I'm Kevin Nelson. Here's a look at what's going on this week in the news. We begin with news from around the country. A new report released by the Knights of Columbus and the group In Defense of Christians contend that Christians in Libya, Iraq, and Syria have become victims of genocide carried out by the Islamic State. The 278-page document entitled Genocide Against Christians in the Middle East contains dozens of statements from witnesses and victims of atrocities carried out by Islamic State forces. The incidents include torture, rapes, kidnappings, murder, forced conversions, bombings, and the destruction of religious property and monuments. This report comes out a week before a congressionally mandated deadline for the Department of State to announce if genocide was being committed against religious and ethnic minorities in the Middle East and North Africa by the Islamic State. The report calls on Secretary of State John Kerry to make the declaration of genocide for Christians. The State Department had hinted that genocide designation was coming for the Yazidi minority, but not for Christians. The Knights of Columbus and the Washington-based In Defense of Christians began a petition campaign in late February asking Kerry to make a genocide declaration. More than 50,000 people had signed on through March 9th. In news now from the Vatican, Pope Francis has approved new regulations governing the financial contributions given for sainthood causes. The new rules will ensure greater financial transparency and accountability. Rome Reports has more.
With these rules adopted by Pope Francis, the Holy See will monitor the expenses for the causes of canonization to ensure they're reasonable and do not slow their progress. It can happen that religious orders or institutions may decide not to embark on a cause of canonization or halt one in progress due to the costs needed to help keep them going. The biggest example is usually the work of the postulator, the one responsible for handling the cause. Other costs include those related to experts or administrative fees, such as the printing and binding of documents on the process. When experts analyzed the economic and financial structure of the Vatican, they noted problems in this area due to the high costs. Now, Pope Francis has addressed them. With this decree, the chances for any irregularities are greatly reduced. In addition, it will be less costly overall, since the Holy See will cover the needs of the Roman phase of the process and ensure the creation of a fund to help those who can't afford the regular expenses. It's a fund that existed until now, but didn't work in practice.
Though the new norms were approved by Pope Francis March 4th and released by the Vatican March 10th, they were actually unofficially released several months ago when documents allegedly written by a commission studying the financial activity of Vatican offices were leaked. The new norms were approved for a 3-year trial period. More news now from around the country. After recently leading a Eucharistic procession of 1,800 Catholics around Planned Parenthood in Denver, Archbishop Samuel Aquila described the experience as a moment of grace and a moment of blessing. The procession went 7 times around the abortion clinic, essentially surrounding the facility with silent prayer for over an hour. In describing the event, the Archdiocese of Denver website stated no shouting or arguing, only prayerful witness for the love and mercy of God. According to the Archdiocesan newspaper, the Denver Catholic, the liturgy office set the tone for the event to ensure the sacred nature of the Eucharistic procession. It organized the logistics of the transferring of the Eucharist to the site and provided prayer books for those in attendance. Back to the Vatican we go. Pope Francis is a fan of sports, especially soccer. He has talked about the values it teaches and how sports can be used to promote peace. 2 soccer teams recently partnered with Scholas, an educational global network that drives Pope Francis's initiative. Rome Reports has more on this important initiative.
Captains from rival soccer teams River Plate and Boca Juniors, Marcelo Borovero and Cata Diaz, buried the hatchet for a brief moment and planted an olive tree for peace. They did this minutes before the classic Argentinian derby match, which incidentally ended with a goalless draw. Perhaps they took it to heart. Both teams have joined the Classics for Peace, promoted by Scholas, an educational global network that drives Pope Francis's initiative. For the Argentine pontiff, sport is a school of values for youth, so it has become a central part of this global network he has promoted, named Scholas.
Y el deporte es importante porque enseña a jugar en equipo. El deporte salva del egoísmo, ayuda a no ser egoísta.
Thus, Scholas has tried to get the stars of the sport involved in its initiatives to attract the masses, as Pope Francis announced this when he was accompanied by Ronaldinho. May 29th will serve as the next big date that Scholas and soccer will be in Rome. It will consist of famous soccer players from all over the world, called Match for Peace.
And finally in the news, the Holy Year of Mercy is having an impact at St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican. According to the rector, conventual Franciscan Father Rocco Rizzo, the number of people participating in the sacrament of reconciliation at the Basilica has increased noticeably. In an interview published in L'Osservatore Romano, the Vatican newspaper, Father Rizzo said that over the past 2 months he has heard about 2,000 confessions. He said that in addition to the 14 conventual Franciscans assigned full-time to the confessionals in St. Peter's Basilica, another 30 are supplementing their work during the Holy Year. Another phenomenon that is increasing, he said, is non-Catholics coming to the confessionals to see what it's all about. While confessors can listen to and counsel non-Catholics, it is not considered a sacramental confession. For the Year of Mercy, priests at St. Peter's and the major basilicas of Rome have been given special faculties to extend absolution even in cases like abortion that normally require consultation with the local bishop or the Vatican. Another Year of Mercy change, Father Rizzo said, is the penance given. The priests in the Basilica, he said, will ask someone to show their repentance through a work of mercy, like visiting someone who is sick or helping someone get to church. Well, that is all the information we have for you this time. I'm Kevin Nelson. Don't forget, you can keep up to date on Catholic news throughout the week with Catholic Newsbreak right here on the Catholic TV network.